There's a certain amount of passion that is involved with belief that goes a little bit past just straight what I think or
Yeah.
what thinking is. So
Yeah. And but it's belief, but it's also desire. Like,
yeah.
where do you want to end up? And
Right?
like
What are
you
your drivers?
what are your drivers? Like you have the ambition to build the most expensive, not most expensive, the hardest to make artwork in the entire world. Um,
Yeah, I want to make the next world wonder. What does that
yeah,
look
yeah.
like?
So pavilion of man, attempted many times, never nobody ever succeeded, and that's your aspiration. And the in the startup community, kind of the consensus is the harder your goal, the easier to start it because it attracts the right people. Um, and there's a lot of truth in that. But apart from that, you put some stuff on our agenda, like how do I translate that, and I
Yeah.
and how do I communicate it with the team, and have I how do I have them contribute? And I think what I've done, and what my first suggestion would be, is kind of take your big vision and just put a timeline on it. Like you start thinking back, okay, then I want to realize it, and you start planning back. As an example, at GitLab, it's tougher for me to talk about like goals in the future because we're now a public company. You got to be very careful with setting those expectations and sharing that. But when we were in Y Combinator, we came into the program and we were like, if in 5 years we have 25 or 50 people at the company, that'd be awesome. Went through the program. We're in Silicon Valley long enough to understand like it was amazing to be here, but also if you don't have the aspiration to build $1 billion plus company and and IPO, you probably shouldn't be in Silicon Valley. Um, and we wanted to stay, so we kind of were peer pressured into that ambition. And then I asked Dimitri how long his commitment was to achieve that, and he's like 10 years, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. 10 years. There's a lot more time. 2025. We can make that. He's like, no. 10 years from the beginning of the project. But that was like 2011. Uh, so like shit. And then I want a bit of cushion and have him stay a little bit after IPO.
Yeah.
So instead of 2021, we said 2020. We ended up in 2021. We ended up in exactly 10 years.
Good.
And that's not a coincidence. Like you don't always meet the goals you set, but you rarely go faster because like every bone in your body and every bone in the organization will tell you to slow down because
Yes.
slowing down makes everything easier. You've got to do so many things at the same time when you're growing, but also growth solves all problems. If something is growing, it attracts better people. People have more opportunity for growth. It's more fun. You get like things unblock themselves somehow. So it both is the cause of all the problems, but also cause of all the solutions.
I have
And
a
we
quick
just
question. How do
yeah,
you
of course.
help move people past a lot of that fear of the unknown? Because that's something I'm
Right.
noticing a lot in the hangups of strategies and bottlenecking. It's not that it's not a good idea, it's that people are afraid to move forward with it.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be the unknown. So what you do is like you get to your ambition. In our case, it was $1 billion company with $100 million of revenue plus, and to go public in 2020.
Mhm.
We made $1 billion by then. The IPO was 1 year later. So you take that and then you plan back. So we just made a revenue projection like, okay, then we got this much revenue this year, this much revenue. And you take that, you're like, okay, this is where we got to end up at the end of the year. Okay, let's do it per quarter. Okay, great. Now we got to do this in the first quarter. Let's do it per month. Take that, do it per week. You all know what you're striving for next week, um, or per month or per quarter. Um, the important thing is that as a leader, you kind of hierarchically, like you're the boss, you set the end goal, and then you try to get people excited about it. That wouldn't it be awesome to reach that?
Yeah.
You're setting it. You're not going to get like consensus of when can we achieve it. No,
Yeah.
that's got to come from you. That should come from your belief and your ambitions. It shouldn't be totally unrealistic, but it's okay if it's like very, very ambitious.
Yeah.
But then you work with, for example, we work with finance to kind of make the curve for us. Like at the beginning, your growth rate is higher and the growth rate slows down, but you still end up with like an exponential curve. Like, how should we think about like pacing that out? And there's for startups, it's easy. There's good articles. It's like triple twice, double 3 years. Like there's all this literature. So we're able to plan it out. And that gave us it. So work with an expert, probably also your co-founders, like plan it out year by year.
Yeah.
And for you, it's probably going to look like Pavilion of Man in 2031. And we're going to start Pavilion of Man with like there's 6 phases to it. And we plan those back. And then we overlap with like all the other projects you're doing. So you kind of need a timeline with all the parallel projects because you probably think in projects instead of ARR, which makes sense. And you kind of hand that to the team. You say like, this is the most ambitious art organization in the planet. I know this is super ambitious, but I think we can make it. So let's think about how we can achieve that, because you want like 95 to 99% of the conversations and the intellectual horsepower in the organization to be about the how. If all your reports are fighting about the what, like should it be 2021 or 2022? First of all, nobody knows. Second of all, you're going to end up with something less ambitious than what you would set by yourself. So like that comes kind of top down. No, this is the goal. We're just talking about how to achieve it. And then if you end up with something where you don't believe in it, maybe it's time to just, but it's probably just hard, but you can make it work. Anything can be done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, like I said, I feel the end goal. I'm starting to branch back down even through the projects. And I think that's where this next idea of blue sky really became clear for me, that it needed to move past just the individual projects themselves and start to branch out and like what are the missions of the company and like how those are going to support the projects in this massive, like the largest, the next world wonder. How does our company build that? Um, and
But
so, uh,
I like to feel I'm pretty close to it. I don't even know when you want to be finished with the Pavilion of Man. Like, so you're saying
yeah, I
I'm
see what
moving
you're saying.
beyond
Yeah.
it. Like,
No.
I
Yeah.
need I need a slide
Yeah.
per year what you're going to achieve.
Yeah. That makes
Not
sense.
because I need it, but because you're going to be having a really hard time getting everyone on the same page with something that's vague. Like people got to kind of see your plan and be a little bit like, ooh, I don't know whether we can do that.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of goes back to our meeting our last meeting where we were talking about, the handbook first and creating the document first, then you can actually move forward with developing it further. You know what you're communicating, you know what issues you'll
Yeah,
have.
with a big caveat that handbook first worked for us, but might not be work for your organization. That's fine.
Course, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. One thing I have been running into at least presently, which again, part of why blue sky was the topic of this meeting,
So what is
was
blue sky? Just to get
blue
an
sky to me is like large development. Like it's the goal setting. It is the giant, basically architectural plan of what we're setting out, the endeavor that we're setting to do. And a
okay.
lot of it
Would it look like per year, kind of this project starts, this project reaches this milestone, this project is finished? Like,
that is a branch of blue sky. Blue sky usually it starts with identifying goals. Kind of it has a branch of research and exploration under it, creative ideation, prototyping, risk assessment and management, like all the things that kind of testing, validation, scaling, timelines. It's kind of
It's so
all of
much, but I don't even see a draft of the basics.
yeah. Okay. Well, I can get you the draft of what I have so far, for
Okay,
sure. I'm
can you
trying to
link
go
it? Can
over
you link it? I'm not going to share it on the live stream, but can you link it in our
uh
agenda?
yeah, let me try and get those things on to yours. But I think the reason why I'm asking that is I've noticed changes in our strategy having to radically change. I ran into um, a problem probably 6 months ago, and I was like, I think we need to change and adapt now. And the team was like, we already paid people money. Let's keep on going. And and sure enough, here we are at the 6 months later, exactly running into that issue.
You were right. This seems like something that we should go off the live